The morning of April 19, 1995. The sun was just beginning to claw its way above the Oklahoma City skyline, painting the nascent day in hues of pale gold and rose. Downtown, the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building stood as a solid, unremarkable monolith of concrete and glass, housing the everyday machinery of government. Unbeknownst to the hundreds stirring inside, their lives were about to be irrevocably shattered. Across town, ex-Army grunt Timothy McVeigh, a man simmering with a toxic brew of rage and disillusionment, piloted a yellow Ryder rental truck through the awakening city streets. Inside the cargo hold, nestled amongst innocuous-looking bags of fertilizer, was a weapon of unimaginable destruction. A Frankensteinian concoction of farm-grade chemicals, high-octane race fuel, and other sinister ingredients, meticulously crafted to unleash hell. McVeigh, his face a mask of grim determination, parked the truck directly in front of the Murrah Building's north face. The engine coughed to a halt, the sudden silence amplifying the pounding in his ears. He cut the ignition, the keys jingling faintly as he pulled them from the cylinder. With deliberate, chilling calm, he climbed out of the cab, the Oklahoma, air already thick with the promise of a hot spring day. He slammed the truck door shut, the metallic clang echoing in the pre-rush hour quiet. Then, he locked it. A final, irreversible act. He wasn't alone. Hidden nearby, Terry Nichols, his accomplice in this monstrous act, waited in the getaway car, engine idling, ready to whisk McVeigh away from the impending carnage. Every second ticked like a hammer blow against the anvil of fate. Inside the truck, the timer was running. 2 fuses, meticulously set. McVeigh had ignited them both, a double tap of doom. He walked away, each step measured, each breath shallow. No turning back now. He reached the getaway car, slipped into the passenger seat. Nichols jammed the accelerator, tires spitting gravel as they peeled away from the curb, leaving the death trap behind. The clock was ticking down. Miles away, on the outskirts of the city, FBI Special Agent Marcus Hayes, a 38-year-old veteran, with a decade of service under his belt, sat in his unmarked sedan. Hayes, a black man whose calm demeanor belied a razor-sharp mind and years of navigating the gritty realities of law enforcement, was on a stakeout. He was tracking a fugitive, a low-level drug dealer who'd skipped bail. Routine work. Or so it seemed. Hayes leaned back in his seat, sipping lukewarm coffee from a styrofoam cup, the morning news murmuring softly from the car radio. He glanced at his watch. 9:01 a.m. Just another Tuesday morning. Then it happened. A sound ripped through the air, a cataclysmic roar that defied description. It wasn't just loud, it was visceral. A shockwave that slammed into Hayes's chest, rattling, his teeth shaking his very bones. The sedan rocked violently on its suspension. For a split second, disorientation reigned. What in God's name was that? Hayes instinctively grabbed his radio, his heart hammering against his ribs. Static crackled, then voices, frantic and confused, flooded the airwaves. "Gas main break downtown," someone yelled. "Possible plane crash." Panic laced their words. Chaos erupted on the radio, a cacophony of speculation and fear. Hayes switched channels, his mind racing, trying to make sense of the unimaginable. He keyed his mic, his voice calm, professional, cutting through the static. "Dispatch, this is Agent Hayes. I'm on the south perimeter. Did anyone else just hear that explosion?" Silence. Then, his supervisor's voice, strained, tight, with urgency. "Hayes, we're getting reports of a major incident downtown. Possible explosion at the Murrah Building. Multiple casualties reported. Head to the scene, now." The fugitive, the stakeout, everything else vanished in an instant. This was bigger. This was catastrophic. Hayes slammed the car into gear, tires squealing as he executed a U-turn, sirens wailing, lights flashing, tearing through the morning calm towards the heart of the city, towards the unknown horror that awaited. 25 years after that earth-shattering day, retired Special Agent Marcus Hayes, his hair now flecked with gray, his eyes holding the weight of memories both searing and profound, recounts his first-hand experience investigating the Oklahoma City bombing. Oak Bomb, as it became chillingly known. In this episode of Inside the FBI, we delve into the challenges he faced in the immediate aftermath, the relentless pursuit of justice, and his perspective on how this unspeakable tragedy reshaped the FBI's battle against domestic terrorism forever. I'm Steve Miller, and this is Inside the FBI. That horrific April morning, As sirens screamed across the city and smoke billowed in the distance, Hayes joined the chaotic scene at the Murrah building. Investigators, first responders, dazed survivors, a maelstrom of humanity amidst the wreckage. The air was thick with the acrid stench of smoke, pulverized concrete, and something else. Something sickeningly sweet that Hayes recognized instantly: explosives. He pushed through the pandemonium, his FBI credentials held high, navigating the debris field, a landscape of twisted metal, shattered glass, and pulverized concrete. He had to get close, had to assess, had to understand. I arrived on scene, Hayes recalls, his voice low, somber. Got as close as I could to what was left of the building, trying to make that initial assessment. Bombing, plane crash, gas line. In those first minutes nobody knew for sure, but the evidence spoke for itself. The gaping crater, a raw wound torn into the earth, the sheer scale of the destruction, the pulverized remains of what was once a 9-story building. It screamed one word: bomb. A massive bomb. Hayes's specialized training as a bomb technician, honed through years of rigorous study and field experience, kicked in. Instinct took over. He knew what needed to be done. Evidence. Every fragment, every shard, every twisted piece of metal could hold a clue, could lead them to the perpetrators of this atrocity. Working alongside newly formed evidence response teams, a frantic, coordinated effort began to sift through the mountains of rubble, to meticulously document and collect critical pieces of the puzzle. It was a race against time, a desperate search for answers amidst unimaginable devastation. Technology back then, Hayes explains, a wry smile touching his lips, tinged with both nostalgia and the stark realization of how far they'd come. It wasn't what it is today. No cell phones in everyone's pockets, no instant digital photography. We had to bring in computers just to manage the sheer volume of data we knew we were facing. This was information management in the pre-digital age, before the cloud, before terabytes of storage, before instant communication. The OK bomb investigation became a monument to old-school detective work, amplified to an unprecedented scale. Consider this: 238,000 wet film photographs. Imagine trying to find a single detail within that ocean of images. Information management was absolutely critical, Hayes emphasizes. One of my jobs was tracking evidence from the moment it was collected. Who collected it? What zone it came from? Ensuring it was properly logged into the evidence system. Then, as crucial pieces were identified, we'd ship them off to the FBI laboratory in Quantico. The FBI lab, a sprawling complex of forensic science, became the epicenter of the investigation. Evidence flowed in, funneled into specialized sections: tool marks, fingerprints, hairs and fibers, explosives residue. Each piece analyzed, scrutinized, dissected for any microscopic clue. We had to track each item through that entire analysis process, Hayes continues. As reports came back from the lab, we'd distribute them to the investigators in the field, the agents piecing together the puzzle, trying to make sense of it all. The sheer volume of information was staggering, overwhelming. Managing it, organizing it, making it actionable, that was a Herculean task in itself. But amidst the chaos, amidst the grief and the pressure, breakthroughs began to emerge. One crucial piece of evidence, discovered early in the investigation by Hayes himself, was a badly mangled rear axle. Buried amidst the wreckage, twisted and, blackened by the blast, it seemed insignificant, just another piece of debris. But Hayes's bomb tech instinct screamed otherwise. He recognized it, saw the telltale signs. This wasn't just random rubble. This was vehicle component. Part of the bomb. Kneeling in the dust and debris, under the oppressive Oklahoma sun, Hayes pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, a pen from his pocket, and painstakingly jotted down the vehicle information number etched into the axle. A VIN. A lifeline in the investigative darkness. That VIN became the thread that unraveled the conspiracy. It traced back to a Ryder rental truck. And that truck, investigators soon learned, had been rented in Junction City, Kansas. The pieces were starting to fall into place. Employees at the Junction City auto body shop where the truck was rented became key witnesses. They remembered the man who rented the truck. He'd used a fake name, Robert Kling. But their recollections were vivid. An FBI sketch artist was flown in, and working with the shop employees, a composite drawing began to take shape. A face emerged from the fog of memory. A face that would soon be plastered across the nation. The composite sketch was disseminated, not through instant digital, media, as would be the case today, but through old-fashioned means, newspapers, television broadcasts, flyers. The public became the eyes and ears of the investigation. You look at the Boston Marathon bombing later on, Hayes reflects, drawing a parallel across time and technology. Digital images, people of interest, instant dissemination. We didn't have that in '95. We had a sketch artist. But we published those sketches, and the leads started pouring in. Thousands of leads, generated by ordinary citizens, people who recognized the face, a face that seemed vaguely familiar, a face they'd seen somewhere, sometime. Hotel employees in Junction City were among those who recognized the sketch. They remembered the man who'd checked into their hotel under the name Tim McVeigh, Timothy McVeigh, the fake name, the real name, the sketch, the Ryder truck. It all converged. The net was tightening. In the end, the OK Bomb Task Force, a massive, unprecedented mobilization of law enforcement, conducted over 28,000 interviews. They chased down more than 43,000 investigative leads. They collected nearly 3.5 tons of evidence, a mountain of data, meticulously pieced together, brick by painstaking brick. It was absolutely a group effort, Hayes says, his voice filled with respect for the collective dedication of the team. I was just doing my small part like everyone else. 1,400 people, ultimately assigned to this case. Worked, I believe, 840 days. A massive investigation, with a lot of moving parts. The investigation led inexorably to Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols. The evidence was overwhelming. The motive, a twisted ideology of anti-government rage, became chillingly clear. Charges were filed. Justice, though agonizingly slow, began to move forward. McVeigh was convicted, executed, Nichols sentenced to life in prison. Accountability of a sort was achieved. But the scars of Oklahoma City remained, etched deep into the American psyche. The Oklahoma City bombing was a brutal awakening. It introduced a terrifying new reality to the United States: homegrown terrorism. Before 1995, before the Murrah building, the concept of large-scale domestic terror, perpetrated by American citizens on American soil, was largely unimaginable. The 1993 World Trade Center bombing had been a horrific precursor, a chilling glimpse into the future. But Oklahoma City was different. It was homegrown, American-made terror. After the bombing, Hayes explains, the FBI's priorities shifted dramatically. The landscape of threat had changed. The enemy wasn't just overseas anymore, it could be within. The FBI responded decisively. We expanded the number of joint terrorism task forces nationwide, Hayes continues, and we ramped up our programs at the Hazardous Devices School, providing critical training to our federal, state, and local partners. The Joint Terrorism Task Force, or JTTF, became a cornerstone of the FBI's counterterrorism strategy, a collaborative network of federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies working together to share intelligence, coordinate investigations, and prevent future attacks. The FBI certifies all non-military bomb technicians in the country at the Hazardous Devices School, Hayes points out. Bomb techs, working hand-in-hand with state and local partners, including our military counterparts, sharing expertise, sharing information. The walls of separation between agencies, between jurisdictions began to crumble. Information sharing became paramount. Not only did the FBI start providing law enforcement bomb techs with clearances to share equipment and information, Hayes says, we also focused on dramatically upgrading our investigative technology and procuring more specialized equipment for the field. Oklahoma City, and the first World Trade Center attack before it, served as brutal catalysts for change. The volume of specialized equipment we have available in the field now is exponentially greater, much more readily accessible, Hayes explains. He recalls a bombing at the University of Oklahoma in 2005. We deployed a special mass spectrometer, cutting-edge technology that had never left the lab before. One of our scientists flew it out to the scene. Now every field office has at least one. We learned, we adapted. We took the horrific lessons of these events and transformed our response capabilities. Though Marcus Hayes retired from the FBI, in 2019, his commitment to remembering and sharing the story of Oklahoma City remains unwavering. He continues to speak at events, to educate, to ensure that the lessons of that tragic day are never forgotten. He also volunteers at the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum, a place of profound reflection and remembrance, built on the hallowed ground of the former Murrah building. He participates in the museum's first-person Stories of Hope program, leading tours, sharing his personal experiences, connecting with visitors on a deeply human level. Several artifacts collected by FBI investigators during the OK bomb case are on display at the museum. Hayes himself has donated personal items, his hard hat worn at Ground Zero, his FBI field jacket, even the crumpled note with the VN number scrawled on it, a small piece of paper that played such a crucial role in bringing the perpetrators to justice. This museum, Hayes says, his voice filled with emotion. It's a unique and sacred place. The FBI has partnered with this facility to ensure that what happened here is never forgotten. Many of the displays, still belonging to the FBI, are on loan, available for the public to see, to learn from, to remember. He pauses, looks out, over the reflecting pool, the field of empty chairs, a poignant landscape of loss and remembrance. It's a beautifully done place, in my opinion. It shows the resilience of the human spirit. It shows that even from horrific events like this, there is recovery, there is hope. Marcus Hayes' dedication to the museum, his willingness to share his story, his artifacts, his time, is a testament to his enduring commitment to service, to remembrance, and to the ongoing fight against terror. He leaves behind a legacy that continues to shape the FBI, military, law enforcement, and first responders across the nation. A legacy forged in the crucible of tragedy, but tempered by hope and resilience. Thank you for joining me as we remember the Oklahoma City bombing 25 years later. To see a photo of Special Agent Marcus Hayes and read more about his perspective on the OK bomb case, visit FBI.gov OKC25. This has been another production of Inside the FBI. I'm Steve Miller from the FBI's Office of Public Affairs. Thank you again for tuning in.